Hello! Pico 4 may or may not finally be coming to North America, but I thought it would be the perfect time to review this headset. I've been using Pico 4 since the release in Europe last year. I will be comparing it to other portable devices, Quest 2 and Quest Pro, and would discuss some of the issues of the Pancake Lens solution they have. Pico 4 is not my only Pancake Lens device. I have access to Quest Pro, but I also have Vive Flow and Huawei VR Glass. Huawei was the first ever Pancake device, and it had a lot of flaws. Small field of view, dark screens, reflections inside lenses. It was quite an unpleasant device to try. Vive Flow was a step in the right direction, but the lack of killer apps, hand tracking and possibility to connect it to the PC made it worthless. Pico 4 had a low bar to beat, at least until Quest Pro would arrive. It is a full-fledged product. There are controllers in the set, you can adjust IPD, it's relatively comfortable, more on this later, and it is portable with its own system and store. Finally, Quest 2 got a real competitor. Let's jump into visuals first. Pico 4 has Pancake lenses, which allow it to be so slim and tiny. It also allows almost full clarity of the lens and giant sweet spot, which is a big step up compared to older headsets. You don't need to search for the clear spot on the lenses while positioning the headset on your head. Image will be clear no matter how you position the headset. But Pancake lenses have few drawbacks. Brightness of the screens is significantly reduced after passing through the lenses. There are reflections and fisheye effect. I have mentioned reflections, and currently it's an unsolved problem for the Pancakes. Since the light reflects twice within lens, inevitably some of it leaks through to the user's eye. You can see it on the Vive Flow, you can see it on Quest Pro, and you can see it here. I'm visualizing reflections here while emphasizing it so you could see it as well. Effect can be compared to DIY mirror projects, where using mirrors and LEDs you create an infinite tunnel. You typically see it only in very contrast scenes. Funnily enough, Pico's home environment is one of them. Having this reflective glare is easy to spot, but you have to look for it. Meta with their Quest Pro has improved on this, and reflections there are even less noticeable. Then there is brightness, or rather lack of it. If you are coming from any other Fresnel headset, you will spot the difference. Screens are quite dim compared to what you used to. It's not bad, but don't expect any squinching when seeing bright light. Compared to Quest Pro, it's slightly dimmer at maximum values. Also, some people notice a fisheye effect when moving eyes without moving head. The shapes are deforming slightly for some users. Personally, I don't notice it, so it's not an issue for me. Pico 4 has LCD screens with 2160 by 2160 pixels per eye working at 72 or 90 Hz and declared by developers 105-degree viewing angle. For my eyes, I have measured horizontal field of view of 100 degrees and vertical of 94. It's better than what I see in Quest 2, and you can see values of the other headsets in this table. For measurement, I'm using Test HMD application version 1.2 from December 2020. I also want to note that I make measurements with a stock face cushion while positioning lenses as close as possible to the eyes, if the device has eye relief. Pico 4 doesn't have eye relief, but for those who want to use it with glasses, there is a plastic extender that goes under the face cushion, just like on Quest 2. But unlike Quest 2, here it's being held down by magnets. You can adjust IPD in the headset, even though you won't find any knobs on the headset to do it. You can do it in the software. Changing values would make motors move lenses, and you can conveniently adjust it until you see a clear picture. Not the level of auto adjustment like on Vario devices, but still quite convenient. Let's talk about sound. Headset has built-in speakers. Those are located in the head strap close to the headset. On the right side of the strap there are volume buttons, which are easy to miss if you don't know about them. Sound quality is quite good, but speakers cannot get very loud, and at maximum volume it rattles a little bit. But for casual gaming and chatting with friends, it's enough. Of course, if you are playing competitively and want to know precisely the direction of the enemy, you will use headphones. But those have to be wireless, as there is no audio port on the headset. During the reveal of Pico 4, CEO of the company compared the device with a can of Coke, both weighing about 300 grams or 0.6 pounds. That was a bit of marketing trick trick as it was weight without a head strap and no face cushion. It's weird to compare a device to Quest 2 if Meta's device has a battery built in. With proper straps and no extra battery on Quest 2, device weight about the same. Facial cushion has some sort of gel-like material inside that in theory will cool you down. On the back of the strap it's using different material, rubberized plastic, definitely designed for easy cleaning. In the Pico 4 Pro model that will become available only for business, this material is used for both front and back cushions. By default, headset doesn't have a light blocker in the nose area, but it's included in the box and easily installed under the face cushion. Strangely, it's using plastic hooks for attachment, while face mask is held by magnets. I personally don't use it as my nose is big enough to block most of the light. I prefer having a small gap, allowing me to pick at my phone or watch without touching the headset. What's not included is the microfiber for cleaning lenses. Come on, Pico. Headset is running on the same chip as Quest 2. Snapdragon XR2 processor, but it's slightly overclocked. For cooling, headset has a fan, so overall package is able to run these slightly bigger screens. However, there is a slight issue. The CPU always seems to run at a maximum power, even if you're just browsing menus. It does make every interaction smooth at all times, but it also drains battery in the background. It doesn't matter if you're actively playing or browsing the web. Battery will be empty after about 2.5 hours. I have installed additional battery mode from BoboVR. I will link it below. It adds about an hour and a half and is easily swappable. That greatly improves time you could spend in VR non-stop. Time to have a look at the controllers. Controllers are having very uncommon shape. They do look like they will be very uncomfortable with tracking rings being in the way, but in reality they will fit your hand very well. This shape allows bringing hands close to each other without bumping the ring, quite useful for shooting games and reloading. These tracking rings allow to track controllers in most of the positions, except behind you of course. Cameras on the headset are located quite on the edges, so tracking area is as wide as on other camera track devices. You can throw grenades, shoot balls and firearms with no issues. Key layout on the controllers are quite familiar, with only one additional button per controller. On the right controller it's a button that takes screenshots if you press it and starts recording video if you hold it. It's very convenient if you're often recording VR content. On the left controller is a similar button, but it's an additional menu button. It could be binded in games however you like. Triggers and grid buttons are very close to Quest 2 controllers and are very soft. I want to note controller vibration. It is very good in native applications. You can feel the flow of vibration going from bottom to top, for example in contractors. You can really feel the recoil of the gun. Shame they did not go with adaptive triggers like PSVR 2. Then it would be the best controllers by haptics feelings. On the negative side, thumbsticks are quite okay, but they make some strange spring movement sound that I have immediately noticed. I had that sound from the beginning, but it never affected usability. Each controller takes two AA batteries and has quite a fancy mechanism for installing batteries. I would say it was over-engineered, as the slot with the batteries fully comes out and you can install batteries to it directly. Well, at least battery slot cover wouldn't accidentally come off. Like other modern VR headsets, Pico 4 has a pass-through camera, but the problem is that it's a single camera in the middle of the front plate. It has quite good quality, colorful picture, but it lacks depth. Instead of seeing your desk with controllers, you see a flat photo of the desk hanging in front of you. Because of that, it is sometimes difficult to grab something with your hands. Because of that, any mixed reality content would be unusable, as 3D VR model will have depth and proper perception, while your surroundings wouldn't. Internally, Pico 4 software has borrowed a lot from Quest 2. The UI is very familiar, as is the layout. It's not their first attempt at their own software, as Pico 3 and even Pico 2 were already running their own version of the Android-based system. But in Pico 4 software, they really leaned into Meta's Pocket and started copying and improving on software. There are similar avatars for users, but Pico has more details and legs instead of floating blobs. Pico has a fitness tracker built into the system. Pico has a tap to show surroundings feature, but it's also a much more open platform. If you want to get developer access to Quest 2, you need to create developer account, apply for it, input your credit card or phone number info, and only then you are free to install on your headset third-party apps. For Pico 4, you just go into developer settings, click several times on the software version, and just like that, you are free to install whatever you like. And before you ask, no, you cannot simply take APK files from Quest 2 and run them on Pico. Here I tried installing Bone Lab as an experiment. It has installed, but it won't launch. Developers still need to enable support when making a build. Just like Meta, Pico has its own store for the applications. They were putting a lot of effort in making sure that all new releases that come to Quest 2 would show up on Pico 4 at the same time. Library is fairly big. Of course, it wouldn't have any Meta exclusives like Beat Saber or Onward, but they are trying their best. Even both parts of The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners are present here. Now let's talk about streaming games from your PC. If you are familiar with the process on Quest 2, here it's quite similar. You can use built-in streamer software to connect with wire or wirelessly over the Wi-Fi. But in both cases, signal will be compressed before it's sent to the headset. Process creates some nasty artifacts, and depending on settings you choose, might look like utter mess. Included cable is only good for charging as it's very short, but you can use any Quest 2 compatible cable if you want. Pico's own software called Streaming Assistant allows you to select between 72 and 90 Hz, turn off reprojections, mute microphone and change quality of the picture. You can prioritize quality over latency or other way around. But even at best quality settings, picture has some noticeable artifacts. That's why I recommend you to go to Pico Store and buy the #1 popular application on the store, Virtual Desktop. This is a software that allows you to stream from a PC wirelessly to the headset. Virtual Desktop has better flexibility in streaming settings, so you could find something that works for you and overall looks better than through the streaming assistant. Unfortunately, Virtual Desktop allows you to stream only over Wi-Fi. Direct cable connection is not supported. Just as a side note, for wireless connection I use Wi-Fi 6 router Asus AX55 with Wi-Fi 5 capability disabled. It allows me to have perfectly fine signal with no dropouts. Another benefit of Virtual Desktop is that it would present your headset as Quest 2 for the PC, allowing you to play any Quest 2 supported games flawlessly. And since Quest 2 has majority of the VR consumer market now, it's not a bad thing. I bought myself a Pico 4 with 128 GB of internal memory, but there is also a version with 256 GB. Apart from that, there are regional versions, Asian and European. I would assume US folks will get a European version. In software there aren't any major differences, but European version seems to have a slimmer face cushion compared to the Asian one. I can easily recommend Pico 4 as your first headset, or if you are looking for an upgrade from your older device. Slimmer designed, clearer lenses, awesome vibration in controllers, there are some very good features in it. But if you're already hooked to Meta's ecosystem, have a big library and you're not ready to leave all of that behind, wait for the Quest 3 coming later this year. Quest Pro is another option, but in my opinion it is not so successful experiment, rather than something Meta would seriously consider developing further. But with ditching Quest platform, you also ditch some of the unique features. Pico 4 couldn't track your keyboard, doesn't have furniture selector for MR, and its hand tracking feature is in a very early stages, and it's still hidden in developer settings. As a wireless PC VR headset, Pico 4 is also great. I use it as my main headset these days, as I enjoy portability and prefer not to have base stations hanging around my office room. For the price of 550 euros, it's a no-brainer.
550?
Yes. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and write a comment about Pico 4 and how much you like or dislike it. Put a thumbs up if you liked the video, thumbs down if you didn't, and we will see you in virtual reality.
That was expensive. But how much was the PlayStation one?
600.